China built the largest navy in Asia. Destroyers, carriers, submarines. On paper, it looks unstoppable. But in 2026, the real threat to a navy is not another navy. It's a coastline. Because a ship moves, a coastline does not. And across Southeast Asia, that coastline is starting to fight back. Let's start. For the past decade, the balance of power in the South China Sea has looked simple. One side builds ships, the other side watches. China expanded fast. Artificial islands, runways, radar, missiles. A moving fortress at sea. From the outside, the equation looked finished. More ships means more control. But that assumption contains a flaw. Because control at sea is not decided by size, it is decided by access. Who can enter and who can survive. The first crack didn't come from a fleet, it came from land, from the Philippines. Instead of building a navy to match China, they chose a different path. They bought one system, the BrahMos missile, a supersonic anti-ship missile, fast, low, difficult to intercept. But the missile itself is not the story. The story is where it sits. On land, hidden, mobile, waiting. This changes the geometry of war, because now every ship entering range is already being watched.
Now the question shifts. Not what did the Philippines do, but what happens if others follow? Look at Vietnam. Long coastline, strategic position, history with China that never really cooled. Vietnam does not need a bigger navy. It needs a better angle. If Vietnam deploys the same system, not as a symbol, but as a network, then the map changes completely. Because now, the South China Sea is no longer open water. It becomes a corridor under observation, every movement tracked, every entry contested. And unlike ships, these launchers don't need to move, they just need to wait. This is where it becomes something bigger, because Vietnam is not alone. Indonesia controls the Natuna area, a natural choke point. Malaysia sits quietly on another edge of the same sea. Individually, these countries are not superpowers, but together they form something else, a distributed barrier. No central command, no formal alliance, but the effect is the same. Missile coverage begins to overlap, gaps begin to close, and slowly a pattern emerges. Not a wall made of steel, but a wall made of range, speed, and geography. Now imagine this from the perspective of a fleet. A destroyer group moves forward, radar active, sensors scanning. Everything looks clear, but the threat isn't coming from the horizon. It's already there, on the coast, in the trees, behind the cliffs, silent, until the moment it isn't. A missile doesn't need to win a battle, it only needs to change behavior, force hesitation, force distance, force delay. And once that happens, control is already lost. China built the largest navy in Asia. That hasn't changed, but the environment around that navy has. Because in 2026, power is no longer measured by how many ships you have. It is measured by where those ships can safely go. Southeast Asia is not building a navy to fight China. It is building a coastline that China must respect, a static defense against a moving force. And in that equation, the advantage is not always where it seems. This is not an alliance, not officially, but the effect is real. A silent network, built piece by piece,